White Lotus, Episode 5, Reaction. Here we go. So in this episode of White Lotus, Sam Rockwell is coming in hot. He's coming off the bench to drop 20 points, 6 for 6 from 3. He's getting after it with Walter Goggins in Bangkok. We'll get to that. The fancies are with the Russians. The fancies, Leslie Bibb, Michelle Monaghan, Lori Kuhn. They're hanging out with the Russians. They're getting crazy. They're drinking. They're going out and partying. At the same time, Saxon and Lockie are on the yacht, are on Greg's yacht without Greg being there. Chloe and Chelsea are taking ecstasy and drinking with Saxon and Lockie. And as the episode goes on, we get a Chelsea Chloe kiss, we get a Chloe Lockie kiss, and we get a Saxon and Lockie kiss. Now, obviously, we've seen throughout this season the incestual undertones in the Ratliff family. Obviously, we've seen Lockie seeing his brother walk to the bathroom naked. We've seen multiple instances of questionable behavior on pretty much everybody in that family's part. Tim Ratliff, what an arc he's been on. He started out as, the breadwinner of the family. He has everything together. I don't take drugs. We see both him and Saxon take drugs in this episode. We've seen the downfall of Tim Ratliff. We've seen it these past couple episodes. Obviously, he's probably going to go to prison if he goes back to the United States because of an embezzlement scandal where he got into some shady business. We had that hilarious phone call that he got earlier, I believe in episode 2. And yeah, he's really going through it. Obviously, we saw in the last episode, he took the gun away from Guy Talk, the security guard at the hotel. The worst security guard of all time. It's in question. Let me know your thoughts for in TV or movie history, some of the worst security guards. I think he's got to be up there. He's definitely in the top tier of worst security guards. He loses his gun. Earlier in the season, we saw a robbery happen where the main goal of him being the security guard of the hotel is to not let these things happen. And he's unfortunately let them happen. But in terms of the gun count, Chekhov's gun, when you see a gun, it has to be used, or it has to be used at some point. We see Tim has a gun, and now Rick has a gun. He gets it from Sam Rockwell's character in Bangkok. Obviously, we're going to have a showdown at some point with Rick and Tim Hollinger, the man that he believes to have killed his father. Now, in terms of who could die, obviously we saw at the beginning of the first episode, a big shootout is seemingly occurring. I've had troubles predicting throughout as we've gone through the episodes, like who I thought was most likely to die. Part of me thinks Rick and the Ratliffs are less likely. Obviously, we saw in this episode Tim was very, very close to shooting himself until his wife comes in. My favorite character, obviously the fancies, I love them. I mean, personally, my guilty pleasure is Saxon. He's my favorite character, even though he's one of the worst characters in terms of just being a complete douche. But I love his character, and I love Parker Posey's character. They're just, every single thing that Parker Posey says in this episode, I'm completely laughing at. She's got the North Carolina accent. She's going for it. she's off the wall now because she hasn't had her lorazepam. She hasn't had it, so she's definitely unraveling, much like her husband. I think the Ratliffs, I don't know. I don't see Piper. Saxon, I could see getting killed with what I think's gonna happen in the next episode. I think him and Chloe are gonna hook up, or I think him and Chloe for sure is hooking up with either Saxon or Lockie, maybe both. I could see a potential threesome happening, but that's either here nor there. Chelsea, on the other hand, I don't know. She is so loyal to Rick, even though he's lonely, he's going through it. In terms of the power ranking, the less likely I think are Rick and the Ratliffs. Going up on the scale, I think any of the Russians could get killed, or Greg. I could see that happening. In terms of on the I don't think it's going to happen at all list, I don't see any of the fancies getting killed. I just think that they're going to be able to get away with it, and I think they're all meant to be as a trio. I don't see any of one of them getting killed off. In terms of the higher point of getting killed, we saw in this episode Chloe talking to Chelsea about how if Greg were to find her cheating on him, he could kill her. And Chelsea can't really see Rick doing that, which I would have to agree with. I think, obviously, we've already seen Greg be involved in a murder of his partner, so I could see that. Belinda, on the other hand, I don't know. In terms of her storyline, it's been the least intriguing to me. Obviously, she's sparked up a love affair with one of the workers. I'm forgetting his name, but she hooked up with him in this episode. Obviously, her son is going to be entering into the show soon. We saw him in the beginning. And some overall takeaways and predictions for these upcoming episodes. So there's 8 episodes, so we have 3 left. And in this episode, they say that the fight is the next day, because this episode 5 and 4 took up 1 day. So I think Friday, is the next episode, and then Saturday we could have a 2-parter again, maybe, or Sunday it'll be concluding, something like that, because it all takes place in a week. So I think some predictions for, obviously we're going to have a fight. We'll probably be there. I don't know if the fancies will show up. I don't really think so. I definitely think Saxon is having sex with somebody for sure. Lockie, on the other hand, not sure. What Tim does with the gun, or what he doesn't do with the gun, will be in question. Obviously, we saw this episode, he was very close to shooting himself, so I had a feeling he was going to attempt to try to kill himself, but I wasn't sure it was going to be completed, because I just think he's got to finish out that storyline. And with that being said, this episode had a lot more religious elements to it. Obviously, Piper was talking about Buddhism. As Parker Posey says, she was explaining how she wants to work at the monastery, even though she's really only been in there once. I think she just wants to get away from her crazy family. I mean, they're all lunatics. Other than Lockie, even though he might have a thing for his brother, which is a problem unto itself. But we see Parker Posey's character praying to herself about, she thinks her daughter's losing it by wanting to experience life in Thailand, which she incorrectly states is Taiwan, hilariously. And we see after Tim attempts what he attempts, he prays and asks to, be guided by God. He asks for, to give him a certain path. So we'll see where that storyline goes, but I can't wait for this next episode. I'm loving the once a week releases. It gives us a week to kind of either rewatch some scenes or just think about what's going to happen next. And I think one of the craziest scenes in White Lotus history, if not the craziest, was that Sam Rockwell scene. Walter Goggins, his facial expressions were absolutely killing me. That would be one of the most highly concerning things if I went to go meet up with a friend and they were telling me what he was telling Walter Goggins, because that was just like unbelievable, and it kept going, and then more details were unraveled. An unbelievable 5th episode performance by a new character. I hope we get a little bit more of him in episode 6. Yeah, those are kind of my instant reactions. We'll have more content coming this week. Happy St. Paddy's Day. March Madness is here. We'll have content coming from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We got a bunch of games. We will be covering it. Episode I will be releasing is teams that I think will have a first round upset. You can see that video up here. That'll be coming soon, but enjoy the week. Watch White Lotus. It's crazy. And thanks for watching.